بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين. Thank you everybody for joining us today. First of all, foremost, I want to apologize for yesterday's technical difficulties. We just faced some issues with our system yesterday, and that's why we couldn't go on yesterday. We are glad you are joining us today to talk about this very important event in our Palestinian history, the Deir Yassin massacre. And we are here and we're going to learn from the best, and we're going to hear from one of the survivor of the massacre, of the Deir Yassin massacre, which happened on April 9th, 1948. So now I'm just going to go over our tonight's event and how we're going to conduct it, inshallah. Let me just go. So tonight you're going to hear from me. I'm Mu'ad Salama here from AMP Missouri, the Missouri chapter. You're going to hear from Tariq Khalil, inshallah, from AMP Chicago chapter. And also you're going to hear from our guest, Dawood Asad, the survivor of the Deir Yassin massacre. We want to ask you a favor. Please share the link with your friends and families so we can all learn about the history of our Palestine. If you have any question, after we finish the presentation, we will answer all your questions. Type in your questions in under the comments in the comment section. It doesn't matter which chapter you are watching through. We have this broadcast is going through all our chapters throughout the states. Alhamdulillah, we have 7 different chapters are broadcasting at the same time. So if you have a question, just type it in the comments and we will answer it for you. This webinar will be recorded, inshallah, and we will update it to our YouTube channel. This is a reminder, we will have, for the first time ever, because of the situation we are in right now, our first ever online fundraising gala. And it's beyond Quarantine Palestine. Contact us. It's April 18th, live Zoom webinar. It's at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 o'clock Central Time. So look out for that at April 18th, inshallah. We will broadcast it through our chapter pages, inshallah, on Facebook. Now, let me introduce to you our first speaker, which is Tariq Khalil from AMP Chicago. Tariq Khalil is an attorney, lecturer, and activist. He has worked with Illinois Coalition Against Torture, an organization that seeks to end domestic police torture and raise awareness of global torture. Tariq defended the civil rights of Chicagoland community as a volunteer attorney for the Council of American Islamic Relations, CARE Chicago. He is currently a board member of Education Coordinator for American Muslims of Palestine, Chicago chapter. Tariq lectures on topics such as modern Palestine history, Middle Eastern politics, and Palestinian rights under international occupation. With that, let me turn the mic over to our brother Tariq. And Tariq, the mic is all yours.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you, Mu'ad, for that introduction. And thank you all for joining us for this very, very important day. We're here to commemorate 72nd anniversary of the Deir Yassin massacre. Deir Yassin was an important village. It was a strategic village. It was a peaceful village. It was a village made up of approximately 700,000 Palestinians, 100 of whom were slaughtered on that fateful day, April 9th, 1948. What I want to do before we bring in our brother, Ammo, Dawood Asad, who will give us a little bit more personal context, I kind of want to lay the historical context, the political context, if you will, of Deir Yassin and why it's so significant for us to commemorate this day and instill it in the Palestinian psyche so that we understand how we got to this point and how this led to the climax of our history in the 20th century, which is the Nakba, our catastrophe. This massacre was committed by 2 underground terrorist gangs, by the Irgun. Now, during this time, the Irgun was led by Commander-in-Chief Menachem Begin. Menachem Begin later on became the Israeli Prime Minister in 1977. Why is that point significant? because even though he committed a terrorist act back in 1948, and he committed other terrorist acts as well, this became normalized decades later, and he became the executive head of the state that was born that same year. And the other terrorist gang was the Stern gang, or Leahy. And the leader of that gang, one of the leaders, was Yitzhak Shamir. And he also became Prime Minister of Israel. He actually succeeded Menachem Begin in 1983. So these two leaders of terrorist gangs became the executive heads of the state of Israel. So that point is very significant, because it's almost like whitewashing the massacre that occurred in Deir Yassin. Now, there is another entity that I want us to think about. The Haganah was the regular army. The Haganah was essentially the forerunner to the modern day IDF. And these two other gangs, the Irgun and Leahy, or Stern gang, they were subsumed, they were infused within the modern day IDF. And so all of these three groups, the Haganah, the Irgun, and the Stern gang, or Leahy, they became what eventually became the IDF. The Haganah, even though it was not directly involved in the massacre, they aided the terrorist gangs, especially the Irgun. They gave them rifles, they gave them ammunition, they gave them intelligence, they gave them equipment, and a Palmach unit. The Palmach is an elite fighting force for the Haganah. This force, I think around 17 men or so, they arrived in Deir Yassin that same day, a few hours into the massacre, and they provided ammunition and also fired against fleeing Palestinians and fired against the house of the Mukhtar. Now, why did I mention the house of the Mukhtar? Because months before the Deir Yassin massacre, the villagers in Deir Yassin, the village elders and the village Mukhtar, the village leader, they signed a non-aggression pact. What this non-aggression pact meant was, we will not attack you, you will not attack us, and that will be the end of that. Now, a member of the Irgun came to the Haganah, and a Haganah leader by the name of Shaltil, this individual told them, even though we don't want you to attack Deir Yassin right now, Deir Yassin is part of our long-term goal. It's part of our long-term objective, because it sits on a strategic hilltop. It is the corridor between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. So it is a core component of our ethnic cleansing operation. And the blueprint for this ethnic cleansing operation, the master plan for the takeover of historic Palestine, was Plan D, Plan Dalet. This plan was put together in March of 1948, and a month later, the Deir Yassin massacre was committed. Now, during the massacre, it's important to note this, because Haganah, the regular army, they want to absolve themselves of any blame, and they want to blame it on these underground groups, the Irgun and Leahy. But in fact, it was the Haganah that actually paved the way for the massacre to be committed in cold blood. If it were not for the Palmach's involvement, which is the elite fighting unit for the Haganah, if it was not for their involvement, the Irgun and Leahy would not have been able to go into the homes the way that they did and massacre men, women, children, old men. There are many stories, and I'm sure our brother Dahoud will get into a little bit more personal detail. But not only did you have murder in Deir Yassin, you had decapitation, you had disembowelment, you had mutilation, you had rape, not to mention looting. And all of this in the span of one day. At the end of so-called the resistance, the massacre that was committed in cold blood was committed obviously without any resistance. And near the end of that massacre, prisoners were taken and they were put on trucks and they were taken down Jaffa Road and they were paraded as though it's a victory parade. And then most of them were mowed down with machine guns and murdered as a result of this brutal attack. 55, more than 55, but 55 known orphans were taken by a lady, a wonderful sister by the name of Hind al-Husseini. She took them in. She took them into her own home, and she fed them. She cleaned them. She gave them company, and moreover, after a while, she actually took them into her own home. And while they were in her own home, she eventually established an orphanage, and eventually established a Arab children's school. Dara Tifl. So this exists today. So her courageous work, these are the individuals that need to be remembered, because she risked her life, she risked her livelihood, she risked her money, she risked her time to make sure that these orphans were well fed and taken care of. So she was definitely a wonderful sister. I want to give a little bit more context on Deir Yassin, if I may. Now, we need to understand the time period involved, right? May 15th, we commemorate that as Nakba Day. So that was the start. That was the climax. So you've had a period of dispossession. Months prior to that, you've had phases of dispossession. The Nakba was the climax of that mass expulsion. We always point out that 700 to 800,000 Palestinians were dispossessed from their homes as a result of the Nakba. Not necessarily true, because over 300,000, some scholars put the number at 380,000. Approximately that amount were already expelled from their homes prior to May 15th, 1948, prior to the establishment of the State of Israel. So this undercuts totally the Zionist narrative, which essentially says that it was the 5 surrounding Arab armies that came in and wanted to wipe Israel off the map. Palestine was already being wiped off the map before any Arab invasion whatsoever. And the most formidable Arab army at that time, the Arab Legion from Jordan, they only went to the part that was given to the so-called Arab state under the 1947 partition plan. So there was no suicidal attempt to wipe Jews off the map, but there was an attempt, and there was a process in place to wipe Palestine off the map. Because even before May 1948, you had Deir Yassin, then you had Haifa, then you had Jaffa, then you had Safad, then you had Tiberias. You've had other villages and cities that were already captured and their residents already dispossessed before there was an Arab invasion on May 15th, 1948. I want to get to the numbers here, because this also feeds into what the Zionist movement was trying to do before the climactic period of May 15th, 1948. What they did was this. They actually inflated the number. The Zionist press inflated the number to 250 dead instead of what's on the objective record, which is approximately 100, maybe 110 people massacred. Now, why did they inflate the numbers? To cause the neighboring Palestinian villages and cities, to cause those residents to fear for their lives and flee as well. So it was an attempt to expel the Palestinians that resided in the surrounding villages and areas. So that was the point of maximizing those numbers. Now, we know a lot about Deir Yassin, but there's still a lot that is concealed in the Israeli archives. To this day, Israel still conceals the information, the photographs that were taken. And actually, there was a petition to the High Court in Israel to release those photos, because under Israeli law, these archives should be released after 50 years. Well, it's been over 70 years, and they haven't been released. Israel, after that 50-year period, reclassifies them every single year because it will damage the international relations of the state, and the court specifically referred to the photos as being damaging. So what are they hiding? There's still more to this that we still need to uncover. And inshallah, our brother Dahoud will give us a little bit more context on that. I hope we can engage in some meaningful Q&A if the time allows for it. Jazakumullah khairan wa assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khair, Tariq. If you don't mind, can you see the questions on the side and see if you can answer a couple of questions, and then we'll move on to Brother Dawood. Guys, if you are watching us, I want to remind you again, please share it with your friends and families, to your groups, so we can all learn about this massacre. We are up to 70 viewers right now. So if you please just share it with your friends and families so we can all learn. Go ahead, Tariq.
Were there? I didn't see any questions. Were there any questions?
Go to the comment section. Can you see it?
Oh, there it is. Okay.
I know there's a lot of comments.
Yeah. Yes, I want to answer our sister Khatunidah Sahouri's question about what do you mean that there was no resistance? There was resistance. The point that I'm making is when Palmach was involved, after their involvement, they actually quelled the resistance. There were actually reports stating that there was help coming from the neighboring area, Ain Kadam. And with Palmach's involvement, they actually quelled that resistance. So there was resistance, but it was not enough. It was not enough after the Palmach's involvement to stop the massacre that later ensued. Did that answer the question, Khalto? And I want to respond to Wadi Hasbak's statement. I don't think it was a question. There were approximately over 500 villages in towns that were partially or totally ethnically cleansed throughout that period from 1947 up until 1949. And let me see if there's something else here. These are just statements, I think, except for Khatunidah's comment.
Correct. I see one. I don't know if you see that one from Fahid Akar. Do you see that one?
We want to invite him to Atlanta after.
Oh, okay. I guess he's talking about Abu Dawood.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. So now let's move to the start of the night. Abu Dawood As'ad. Let's I'm sorry, guys, but I'm just trying to do two things at once. And okay, again, we remind you, April 18, we have our first fundraiser gala online with Sheikh Umar Sulaiman. Actually, he's going to be joining us that night. So please mark your calendar for that night. This is our star of the night, Brother Dawood As'ad. He is one of the Deir Yassin massacre survivor. At the age of 17, Brother Dawood awoke in early morning of April 9th, 1948 to his village in flames. After narrowly escaping, he made his way to the United States, earning a Master of Science in Industrial Management and honorary doctoral degrees. In 2008, Brother Dawood released a book titled Palestine Rising: How I Survived the 1948 Deir Yassin Massacre. Since he has gone on tours and speaking engagements to educate the general American public about the massacre that occurred in Deir Yassin and other tragedies forced onto the Palestinian people as a result of Zionist oppressions. Today, Brother Dawood is a pillar in the New Jersey Muslim community, serving as a president of the Islamic Service Organization. He was founded a member of the Islamic Society of Central Jersey, located in Monmouth Junction, Brunswick, New Jersey, and served on the board of the mosque for years. So with no further ado, please help me welcome Brother Dawood As'ad. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. We can't hear you, Brother Dawood. Can you hear me? We having some issue, Brother Dawood. Can you hear me? Okay, guys, it looks like we're having some audio issues. We're going to fix that, inshallah. Just bear with us a moment until we fix the audio issue with Brother Dawood. And then we'll try to jump back to the questions. If anybody have a question until we fix the audio issue with our guest, inshallah. If anybody have a questions, please ask your question. So our brother Tariq, so he can answer any question. If you have any other information you want to share with us,
I can. Because of the sake of time, I didn't want to get into more detail. But I guess I can provide a little bit more detail. I want to
go for it.
I want to emphasize a little bit more about the Urgun and Lehi. Now, in Zionist discourse, there's always this talk about what land was coveted and to what extent. These offshoots, the Urgun and Lehi, or Stern Gang, they actually coveted the biblical notion of what they call Eretz Yisrael. This biblical concept of Israel is not just from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. It encompassed both banks of the River Jordan, the West Bank and the East Bank, which is now Jordan. But moreover, it extended from the Nile to the Euphrates, not just from the river to the sea. So this stems from what is called Zionist revisionism, this revisionist brand of Zionism that calls for both banks of the Jordan River. This what the Urgun was founded by a man by the name of Zev Jabotinsky. This individual did not agree with the mainstream Zionist idea of pragmatism to an extent. Now, the mainstream Zionist idea said, okay, you know what? We'll take less than both banks of the Jordan River and we'll incrementally get to that point. It's not that the mainstream Zionist movement did not covet that entire area. They did covet the same area. They were just a little bit less extremist in their approach. So they were not maximalists in terms of their position, but still Zionistic in orientation, which means three things. When we talk about Zionism and the Zionist enterprise and the Zionist objective, we are talking about three fundamental elements, which is the conquest of land, 2, the ingathering of the Jewish exiles, bringing in as many Jews as possible into that area that you've just taken through conquest, and 3, and most importantly, the dispossession of the indigenous people of that land, because what you want is an ethnic exclusivist state, a racial exclusivist, racial supremacist state. So Deir Yassin was the impetus. Deir Yassin set the stage, set the groundwork for the ultimate takeover of historic Palestine. Because after Deir Yassin, the later phases of expulsion, hundreds of thousands fled. Over 100,000 fled between April and May after Deir Yassin. So you can see the effect that Deir Yassin had on neighboring areas and neighboring villages and cities. This is the crucial part of this. These groups, these two terrorist organizations, the Urgun and Lehi, they've committed terrorist acts before. Look this up yourself. The Count Folk Bernadette was the UN mediator in the mid to late 1940s. As the UN mediator, he said that Palestinians have the right to return to their homes. It is part of what he said, quote, elemental justice. He was assassinated by Yitzhak Shamir's Stern Gang. The King David Hotel bombings was committed by the Urgun against the British, and Palestinians died there as a result as well. So we have to put it in context that this was these groups acted in a terroristic fashion, mainly to cause fear into the minds and hearts of the Palestinian people and cause them to leave their homes. Is Ahmed Dawood back?
We're gonna try him. Yes, he is. Jazakallah khair, Tariq, for that information. I know I'm glad you have so much information to share with us.
Palestine is rich in history, my brother.
I know, man. I know, and believe me, we don't know. We think we know a lot, but we don't. There's a lot of missing information. So let's try inshallah Amu Dawood now. Amu Dawood, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear? Yes.
Can you hear me, Amu Dawood?
Ahmad would say yes.
Yeah, no, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, so when do you want me to start?
Go ahead, you go ahead, Amu Dawood. The floor is yours.
Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم قال رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي أما بعد. First of all, I want to thank the American Muslim for Palestine, New Jersey, for really taking care of this problem and remembering Deir Yassin. It's my village, a beautiful village. I was born there December 23rd, 1931. When the massacre took place, I was only 17 years old and I watched most of it. But now, just give you just an idea about my village. Actually, in 1948, there were about 750 people. Of course, before it was less, and everybody knows each other. Everybody knows each other. It was supplied by wells, two springs and only wells. We have no electricity. Deir Yassin had only three small shops only, and one telephone, three radios, and the radios were operated on by batteries, car batteries. We charged them every day. There was no electricity, one bakery oven only, and we have a Mukhtar, elderly chief. Now, most of the inhabitants worked as messengers, truck drivers, and chefs and cooks at the British headquarters in Jerusalem, and they mostly traveled in bicycles because we don't have any cars at that time, you know. Now, this is just a short, brief history about my village as far as it's concerned. Now, coming back to me here, my experience is on the night of 9 April 1948, I was with my six uncles over the roof of my house. And then what happened in there, about 4 o'clock in the morning, we saw like trucks from the Ergonstein, the army, and the Stern, and the Haganah attacked us. They attacked us from all the places. See, our village is surrounded by three sides Jewish settlements, and the only side which you can escape to go to Ain Karim and Jerusalem is through the west side. So my house was exactly in the middle of my village and Givat Shaul, the first settlement. Now, what happened? We have two big quarries, mahjara, يعني in Arabic, big stone ditches, and we have a trench. We made a trench so that if the trucks come, the Jewish trucks come down here, we will hold them. So when the tanks came, not tanks actually, they called musaffahat, you know, when they came and they start to go from underneath the trucks and and put the dirt in the trench in order to come to the village. But my six uncles, and we were the first spot, I mean the first people to resist. They start to come from underneath, and they put the grounds to fill up the trench. And my uncle Salih Radwan, he was a good shooter there because he was in the Turkey army. So every time a man comes down from underneath, he shoot at him. I myself, we have actually two old guns. One is they call it British Inglesia, and one is Almani, Germany. And I was just putting the bullets for my uncles to fight because they attacked us from all the places. we fought about at least 2.5 hours, and we have only one brain. Only we bought this from Al Alamein from Egypt. So after 5 minutes, the the pipe, or the, what do you call it, the barrel of this brain start to get hot, and it's no good. So anyhow, we start fighting till we finished all our ammunition. And then what happened in here, we went downstairs. I mean, I'm speaking about myself. My uncle Radwan and myself stayed outside, and my uncles went down the house hoping to get ammunition again, go up, but they didn't come back. So I went downstairs and I didn't find any uncles. So I said to my uncle Radwan, Radwan, everybody's gone. Come down. So when he came down, he was behind me. He was so terrified that he could not walk. So he went to in my house was my grandmother, and was 96 years of age, Hajja Amina, and was my brother Omar was 2 years of age there, and myself and Radwan. So Radwan stayed with my grandmother, and this, they were shooting too hard on us. So I myself went down the stairs and then followed a trench with the period of the Turkish people there. We used to play when we were young, play with it. So I start to creep on my belly, going from my home to the western side, nearby the village, because we are outside the village. And this trench, when it becomes shallow, and my head, I had a lot of hair at that time. When it goes up, I see the bullets, zoom, zoom, and my hair goes up. Then I go down. Then they were shooting to kill me. Then I was mad. Then what happened in here, through that trench, when I was going all the way down to the west side, in front of me, I heard a noise. And I was so terrified, I couldn't even breathe because I thought they were Jews. But luckily, they were my uncles, took the same place. So what happened in here, when we were going to the downtown, our house, to the west side, the Arabs who were in the west side, in the top, they thought that we are Jews, and they almost want to shoot us. But Amr Saleh at that time, he had hatta, an akal, the headdress, and he took a branch from the tree and he started to shout to our people, we are Arabs, we are Arabs, do not shoot, we are Arabs. Otherwise they would have killed us. Anyhow, we had managed to go to the west side. And from there here, we we found that actually the Jews, our people, they killed a lot of them before. In fact, the first bullet which was shot, which was shot by somebody called Mahmoud Atiyah, he killed the leader of the Jews, the leader of the Stern, and Ergon Disraeli Omi. Okay, but then we were the first hour, we were really controlling and we were shooting real hard. But what happened now? They asked for help. So the Haganah is supposed to be a trained soldiers. They came with 2 trucks and full of soldiers, and they gave them some help. And then the battle turned against us. I have lost 27 men from my relatives, but my immediate family was my grandmother. She was 96 years of age, and my brother Omar, and with my sister 6 years of age. They wanted to leave our house to go to the village because my mother at that time was in the village, was not with her because she was expecting to have a baby, and she wanted to make sure that she goes there and have somebody take care of her in the in the البلد inside, you know. But what happened in here when my grandmother was holding my Omar, my brother over her head, and holding my sister Nazia in her head, there was a lady who shot them, and then they went. My brother Omar went down on a rock. Now what happened is this: before before my grandmother left the house, my uncle Radwan was with her, and he slept. He went under the bed. So now, when the Jews came in and he saw him, he told him to get up. They put him in the wall, and according to my sister Nazia, she was there. They shot the first shot was on his head, and she said that he went down on the floor, and another lady put about 6 bullets in him. It was a terrifying thing. But then what happened? My brother Omar, he wanted some kind of a bread because he was hungry in the morning, and my grandmother did not have a chance to go to the to the طابون يعني oven to make the bread. So she went inside to see where my mother is. That's when, in the middle of the way, that's when she was killed. So now my sister went and slept through my mother, my grandmother, and my baby. She did not. She was not shot. Was not shot. But then, when the Haganah came and they started to take captives, they saw her moving. So they gave her small sugar and to go to the house where they have the other captives in one of the houses. So when my sister saw my mother said, Nasiha, what happened to your brother Dahoud? What happened to your uncles? What happened? What happened? What happened? She told him, I didn't see my brother Dahoud. I don't know what happened to him. But Uncle Radwan, they was shot in front of me. And then he says, where's your grandmother? He says, if you want, I could show you where she was killed. So she asked the guard of the captives to take my mother to see where my grandmother is, or her mother, and her baby Omar. So it was good. She took her down there, and then when my mother took my brother Omar in her hand, actually there was no bullets, nothing at all. It was a shot, but he was not talking. So we don't know what happened to him. Is that the shock from when he put his head all the way in the rock, or he is having coma, or he's alive, or he's dead? Up till now, we don't know. But my mother wanted to take him with her. So the guard told him, listen, if you don't put him in here, we have orders to shoot anybody who's going to take anyone who is dead. If you don't put him down on the floor, I will shoot you. So she was forced to put him in. And ever since that meeting, ever since that incident, my mother was so grieved. She says, why don't I take my baby with me and let him shoot me? That's much how she was mad, and she was in misery. Anyhow, what happened then, they took the captives in the truck, and they went to Mahni Yehuda, because see, we were surrounded, as I said before, with 3 settlements: Giv'at Shaul, Beit Kerem, and Menahim. So what happened in here, they start to parade with them in Mahni Yehuda, and the Jews spit on them, and then they took all their jewelry. They took the jewelry with them, and then they start to spit on them, and then finally they took them to Jerusalem, where the Azin Hind al-Husseini has a house over there, and took him down there, the refugees. But now here's the problem. Luckily, my father, he was in a masjid nearby Gaza with with other brothers. If my brothers were there, see, my mother have 12. She has 12 boys and 1 girl, and just only in the village was myself and Omar and my sister Nazia and my grandmother. But my father was working in Masjid nearby Gaza in the road construction to finish a contract before the British moved, because as you know, the British left May 15, but this was April April 9. So he has to finish the contract to get his money before the British leaves. So now what happened, they were there in Masjid, the radio, listening to the radio at 2 o'clock in the afternoon about their Yassin. So my brother Yunus and my father, they were listening, and they said that my mother and sister was among the killed. They mentioned my grandmother, they mentioned my relatives, and they were all shocked. And my father said at that time, I have to go right away to the Jerusalem and see, because my wife, I lost my wife, I lost my sons, and so forth. So now, according to my father, he came in to Jerusalem, and I want you to just picture the scene. Here's a scene where they put all the people who came from Deir Yassin inside the house. And if in that house, if anybody's there, he's alive. If he's not there, he's not alive. So you could see the commotion in that house. Where is Fatima? Where is Maryam? Where is Dawood? Where is no? Where is this? Where is that? Where? And everybody was saying, "Oh, I saw this man killed in there. Oh, I saw this man. We didn't see him," and so forth. It was really a terrible scenery. But now, mind you, that we have a peace agreement actually with the Jews before not to attack. But you cannot trust them. Although they are not the Jewish from the settlements who attacked us from outside, but still they came from the settlements of Giv'at Shaul and Beit Hakerim. So they're surrounding us. But thanks God, we the night before we saw trucks moving in those settlements around us, because we can see them, so they're too far from us. Okay, so we know something is happening, and then everybody took actually a spot, and they fought till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Nothing, and the village was surrendered, and and this is just a small summary of the scenery, and this is my experience as far as I'm a survivor. But I always dream about it. I always thanks God for for actually we are alive, you know. But ever since in there, we used to, when I was in the United Nation working, we have every year we have the commemoration of Deir Yassin, and Deir Yassin will never be actually forgotten. Now, Deir Yassin, remember the importance of Deir Yassin. Why did they attack Deir Yassin? They attacked Deir Yassin because number one is they thought, or they think, or they say that it is actually in a good strategic location, because we could we used to go and shoot on those caravans
I'm I mean to cut you off.
Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and they take all the wheat and the rice and all this from them. And Kaloni is the same thing, and Lift is the same thing. So these
Amo Dawood,
Vietnam.
I'm sorry to cut you off. If you can, I think your phone is slipping. Can you just place yourself in the middle of the screen for us?
You mean you want me to hold up like this now?
Yeah, if you can put it the way it was initially, put it down and place yourself in the middle, inshallah.
How is that? Can you see me now? We're okay?
That's perfect.
So what I'm saying to you here is actually it's a horrible situation, and we were attacked from all the three sides. Okay, now see, prior to that, about a month before that, they start to send for us one time a cow to the village so that we could kill her and justify an attack. But we were smart. We gave it back to them. But then one time they gave us an insane lady. She came here. She thought that we were going to kill her or maybe do something for her, but we took her back. So it was a peaceful between us before, with a peace agreement, verbal peace agreement. And in fact, when the Jewish came in the afternoon, they want to see where are those people who were killed. Now, what happened? There was a French man called Rene. He wanted to come to Deir Yassin to see what happened, but they will not let him come from the first day or second day, but the third day, because of the pressure, international pressure, he came down there. He came down there, and then he says, "Where are the dead? Nobody there." But the Jewish people from Gibeah Shaul, he said, pointed to a well. They called Bir Joza well. They put all the bodies over there. So this man took the cover of the well. There's no water in it. It's dry. And then he estimated that there were 250 people were killed. So when you say 250, all the papers say 250. The Palestine, Jadid Palestine say 150, and Difa said 150, and in United Nations, the Arab there they said 250, and everybody was saying 250. Every book you put 250. But to be frank with you, in my book, I had exactly 103 people they were killed. 100 from the village and 3 from outside. Who are the 3 from outside? The 3 from outside is one called a teacher called Hayat al Balbisi. She used to come from Jerusalem every day to Deir Yassin. She goes through Givat Shaul buses, and I used myself go and bring her from the bus to the village to the school and take her back. But at that night, there's supposed to be a wedding on Friday in Dar Zidan, and they asked her to come and stay in the village. So she stayed in the village. She could have escaped, but she did not escape because she went to the school. She got some small aid, first aid, and they start to actually recover those people who are wounded, and they killed him. Although she had on her hand like a black thing that she's like a nurse or something, but still they killed her. Now, who are the other two people? The other two people were the bakery man and his son. And then, according to one witnesses, he went to that oven, and one of the Jews said to the Pharaoh, to he said he's from Hebron. He says, "Put your son in the oven." And the son was so terrified that he said, "Father, please don't do it." And he held on his clothes, don't do it." So he said, her father told him, "I will go before you before I put him." So the soldier says, "Put them both, the father and the son, put them in the oven." Imagine, bake them in the oven. This is according to an eyewitness. So now the reason this important, massacre of Deir Yassin is so important. Of course, the other massacres took place before, Ceramis and King David Hotel and all that stuff, Gibeah and all that. But the reason it is so important because of that village, the people start to be terrified, and 750,000 refugees they left their villages and towns outside in fear that this might happen to them as it happened in Deir Yassin. So this is just a short story, and I'm willing to answer any question anybody has.
Jazakallah khair, Ammu Dawood. We really appreciate. We enjoyed listening to your story. Wallah, we can sit here all night and listening to you. Now,
I hope I was clear what I was saying.
you were very clear. Mashallah alayk, mashallah alayk, Ammu. So let me. I'm bringing in our brother Wasim from New Jersey chapter to help us with the Ammu Dawood, so he can ask Ammu Dawood the questions we have for him. Wasim, the mic is yours.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Wasim, speak up a little bit, please.
Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ahmad Dawood, thank you so much for your time. The one thing that we, as the people in the United States working for the cause of Palestine, the liberation of Palestine, something that we miss is our connection to the actual history and the oral history that's so important. So you're a gem in our movement, and we benefit from you greatly. And we appreciate you so much for being with us today. Alhamdulillah, we have a few questions queued up for you. We have one question by Reverend Fahid Abukel from the Galilee, who now lives in Atlanta, Georgia. Um, he asks, what is
Just
urgent?
wait. This the adhan came from the other side.
I
Just a
think
minute.
we should let it.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Make it clear, please. Okay.
Okay. He asks, what is urgent and what do we need to do as Palestinian Americans in the United States right now?
Well, to me here, I tell you frankly, every Palestinian, I know that he will never, number one, accept Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Never, even to the last man. Now, what we need here, we are not going to watch Fox News and the others. I think what we should do here, we always come together and commemorate these incidents. And I also like to see, for instance, if any attack on a mosque or a church or a synagogue, I like to see the imam and the rabbi and a priest coming together on TV and condemn this action. Okay, we are living in this country. We should do good to other people, to our neighbors, invite them to our Ramadan futur party. We should have be help them out so that we are here to stay in America and we should be one of the fabrics in America. And of course, we cannot actually forget our culture and our habits and so forth. But we have to tell the people the right thing and help them out so that they become to know us. Because many people, when they heard about Islam and Muslims, they were convinced because they have the propaganda is very strong in here. Most of the broadcasts here are controlled by Jews, as you know, and we didn't even have it. Well, we have it now thanks to the internet. We have Al Jazeera now, and we have other ones, but we should have more in the media and more lectures and keep this alive. Because you see, when I went to Jerusalem, I was in Masjid Al Aqsa, and when the people start to throw bombs there, I was there. So what happened is here. I told the people, look, listen, they speak about the Holocaust and so forth. Look at my village over there, and nobody speak about it. And when you mention the Holocaust and Deir said, the Jews get very, very frustrated. Hey, Dawood, are you going to compare the Holocaust with your massacre of Deir Yassin? I says, yes, to us, one is too many. Okay? So what I'm saying, we should get together and be united and say we should not be shy to say we are Muslims and tell the people about us and invite us and help them out. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. So in doing the research before having you on our live stream, there was a tour that you went on a few years ago that I believe was sponsored by American Muslims for Palestine. And it was a never again tour with people who I believe experienced the Holocaust firsthand. And you, as a Deir Yassin survivor, what is the importance of maintaining tragedies that have occurred previously to others, like the Jewish people in the Holocaust, and keeping it connected to the struggles that we see as Palestinians, specifically Deir Yassin and other oppressive moments in Palestinian history, and oppression that people of other faiths, races, and ethnicities have seen?
Well, as I said before, Brother Wasim, you know, I tell you what, when I saw that, what do you call it, Al-Mahraka in Jerusalem, I was there and I was speaking about the massacre of Deir Yassin, and I told them, look at this, it's only about two kilometers away from here. In that place, a big massacre took place. This is my village, But you know what? And we cannot even have like a monument there. And thanks God. I mean, we tried to put a monument in Jerusalem. They forgot. They did not allow us. But now there is one. I think in Geneva, New York. There's a fellow here. I put in my book. He contributed 1 acre of land, and he put a monument, and he showed Deir Yassin there, and with a tree with broken branches, and the people who contribute there. and people go and visit it there. They will not put it on the street because of the zoning problem, but he had it inside his field. I visited myself and took a picture there. Okay, so they will not even allow us to put a monument for us. So, but you see, whenever you mention Deir Yassin and the Holocaust, people start, say, okay, we heard about their sin, and some of the Jews just to hug you and say, well, sorry, what happened, and so forth. And a lot of people in my book in here, I put some people from Jews who were condemning that massacre. Okay, now I have a book about Palestine Rising in Arabic and English. The English one, 5,000 copies went already because I put them in the libraries and I gave them to overseas in Jordanian libraries. They use them as a resources in here. I put them in America here, but I have the Arabic ones, which is very very good. And I didn't write this book for profit, but I will be more than happy to give free, just only do for the shipment, a book in Arabic now I have. And then if they want the English one, they could order it from Amazon or from other libraries. Um, I mean, I don't know what to tell you now. But I have, you know what? One time I took a delegation and visited the Masjid al-Aqsa and Mufti of Palestine, Hussein. And I took permission for them because they're not allow anybody to go like non-Muslim to the Aqsa Mosque. But I know the man, and he allowed me to go. But what happened in there? We, I told the people, listen, we do not mind anybody come and pray in our mosque, but if you come for the intention of take it or divide it, like it happened in Hebron, of course we're not going to let you in. And I explained this to the people themselves, and they were convinced. I spoke to them about the Isra and Mi'raj, how our Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, from where he prayed as an imam to all the people in Masjid al-Aqsa. I pointed them the spot over there. And I took them down to the Sahara down there, and even they prayed behind me in a Sunnah, 2 Rak'ah Sunnah, in downstairs in Masjid al-Aqsa, and explained to him how our Prophet Muhammad, after his journey all the way from Mecca to Jerusalem, and he prayed with all the imams, and he ascended to heaven from here. They were very receptive, very receptive. And to just give you a story, I was in a bus there, the touring bus, a Jewish bus, and the guide over there, he said to the people, "Oh, in partition, we agreed for the partition, but the Arabs would not agree for it." So I raised my hand in the bus. I said, "Please tell him why didn't the Arab accept the partition?" He did not answer me. He was about only 20, 22 years old. Then an old lady told him, the older man about me asked you a question, why didn't the Arab accept it? He said, I don't know. So I explained to them exactly what happened, why we didn't accept the partition plan and so forth. So now we should be, all of us here, be like ambassadors in America and tell the people about our tragedies and put them on put maybe ads in the New York Times for commemoration of that. And now internet is there, so we could do a lot of things, Brother Rashid.
Yes, yes. Okay. You touched upon it as you were speaking, but I think that it's important for us to cover this specific aspect in relation to Deir Yassin in the history of the Palestinian struggle for liberation. The Nakba from the early 20th century till today has been full of atrocities against the Palestinian people. Within its entire history, what is it about the Deir Yassin massacre that is so significant?
Well, the most important significant is that it is on a strategic place where, number one, I mean, when the Qastal, the day before the massacre, there was a battle in Qastal where Abdul Qadir Husseini was killed there. Our people, they participated in that battles, And also before that, we used to, Lifta and Colonia and Deresin and Ain Karim, they they used to go on the hills and they can cut the transportation and all those trucks which brings food from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. It's only one main thing. So Shari al-Quds, the big one from all the way from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv and to Haifa and Jaffa. So they figured out these places we have to take, and the only thing we can take them is by having a massacre like Deir Yassin. So they frighten the people, and every town start to leave. As I said before, here 750,000 refugees from left from left their houses because of Deir Yassin. This is the important thing, the refugees, which we were afraid what is going to happen to them, like in our country, in our village,
Jazakallah khair, Ammu Dawood. Can he hear me? Or if not, Wasim, could you ask him this one last question and we're going to wrap it up with Ammu because we promised people we're going to be about an hour.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Thank you very much. I really want to thank you very much.
No, 1 second, Ammu. One more question. Somebody asked, how many people of Deir Yassin survived the massacre? Do you know?
How many what?
How many people of Deir Yassin survived the massacre?
Killed?
No, how many people?
How many people
survived the massacre?
Oh, well, I tell you, there's 750 minus 103.
So 103 survived or 103 were killed?
So it's about but see, I tell you what happened in here is we have the survivors. In fact, in my book, I put all the names of the survivors, their ages, and from what families they are. So the ones that were survived in here is about, I say 550, 600 maximum.
Jazakallah khair. Another question is, do you know what's in place of Deir Yassin right now? Which Israeli settlements there now?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Go ahead, Wasim. You want to ask him because he probably can hear you better.
The question is, what currently sits on the land of Deir Yassin?
Okay, the land now they put in it. I visited only one time. I took permission from the Minister of Health over there to go there, and with the help of two mayors in Nasra, they allow me to go inside, and it has a big hospital for insane people. And they always say if somebody wants to have to go to Deir Yassin, they say, oh, don't go there because it's dangerous, because there are some insane people, they will attack them. And this is propaganda. No, when I was there was insane people there, but they were very quiet. They were not vicious. So now they having it like a big hospital for the insane people. And also, I visited the school, the mosque. The mosque over there, when I went in, they have it like offices. The masjid and the school inside my village. I said one to them, you know what? I said, you are this office is in the mosque. We used to pray here. He will not believe me, And in fact, there's a coffee shop. I have some kind of cacao, cocoa from there. And I told the people over there, they came around me and they explained to him exactly who are in Deir Yassin. And happily, I thought there was somebody from Arabs who was taking care of it. And I'm not supposed to take a picture, but he told me, I have the mayors with me too, So he told me, the man over there says, listen, don't let me see you taking pictures, but take a picture in here and don't let me see you because I have the problem. So now, not too many people. I was allowed only about 5 to 7 hours maximum to visit, and then I went.
Jazakallah khair, Ammu.
Some houses are destroyed. Some houses are the way they end. In fact, we had 3 houses over there. I was able to go there there, but one of them was to my uncle's house, and it is used to have a balcony and an extra room. It was demolished there, you know.
Jazakallah khair, Ammu. I personally want to thank you very much. You remind me of my grandfather, who used to tell me all the Palestinian stories all the time. I appreciate you. I want to encourage everybody to buy Ammu's book if you want to hear more from him. It's available on Amazon, correct?
It's fading now.
Your book is available on Amazon, correct? That's what they told me. So Palestine Rising by Dawood As'ad. Look it up on Amazon, and you can purchase it on Amazon to hear more from the Ammu Dawood story.
Thank you very much on your group here and the American Muslim for Palestine, New Jersey, for taking the trouble to put this on. I appreciate this very, very much.
We appreciate you. We did nothing compared what you went through, Ammu. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Jazakum Allah khair. Jazakum Allah khair.
Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum
Okay,
assalam
guys.
wa rahmatullah.
Okay, guys. Now we're gonna proceed with our event. We can sit here and listen to Ammu Dawood all night. Mashallah, anhu, he is yani full of energy. Now I'm bringing back Tariq, and we are gonna proceed with our to wrap up the night, and we're gonna proceed with our event, inshallah. So now, next on our agenda for the night, inshallah. Let's see. Now we're gonna go through the campaigns we're going through right now.
A little bit of Q&A. I think there was a few questions that I wanted to answer.
Okay.
Really quickly.
Go ahead. Yes, Q&A.
I think one of them was regarding the resistance, I believe. Is okay. If there the question was if there were resistance at the time, then why did the Mukhtar sign a the question says peace pact, but it was a non-aggression pact. Even though they were involved in any kind of violence, they still did not trust the Zionist militias, so they still kept arms with them. So they were still armed, just in case that the Zionists would violate the pact, and the Zionists in fact did violate the pact. If they did not keep arms, who knows? It could have been more than 100 that ended up being slaughtered if they did not show some kind of resistance. So that answers that question. And there was also I wanted to add to the answer about what now is in the Deir Yassin village. So it's as our brother Ammu Dawood mentioned, the Kafar Shul Mental Center is in the site of the Deir Yassin, and also Jewish neighborhoods, and also the Holocaust Museum is also within the site of Deir Yassin. So you have Jewish lives that are memorialized, and you have Palestinians in the same soil whose names are unknown, whose tombs are non-existent, and who will forever live in our hearts and in our minds. And it is absolutely crucial for us to understand that even with the minimal evidence that we have, without the evidence that's still concealed in the Israeli archives, even with the minimal evidence that we have, we know for certain that there was indeed a massacre in Deir Yassin. And this massacre was committed by a brutal Zionist entity, which is a settler colonial enterprise. Now remember, and this is something that we all know, but we need to emphasize time and time again. Jews and Palestinians lived in Palestine for centuries, and they were there together living in harmony. It is only because of the advent of Zionism. Zionism is what brought about the destruction of Palestine. Zionism is what brought about the enmity that now exists in that Holy Land. It is that ideology. It's not the people. It's not the Jewish people that brought that about. It's that racist, settler colonial ideology that is now manifesting itself within an apartheid structure. It is that entity that's causing the suffering of the Palestinian people. It is that entity that caused the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians. It is that entity that we're fighting against today.
Jazakallah khair, Tariq. Do you have any other question? Let me see if we have any other question. Anybody have any question?
Let me take a look.
Okay, Wally said how many were killed. I think Ammu Dawood answered that or not. I think.
Actually, I'll add to that a little bit. So the numbers are around 100 to 170, but I think the most accurate count is somewhere between 100 and 110. So the number that Ahmad Dahoud gave 103. I think that's about accurate, around that number. But we have to remember that the Zionist press put the number at 250. They inflated the numbers more than twofold for the sole purpose of creating fear and causing fear to the surrounding villages and areas so that they will also flee and they can capture the rest of that strategic territory and kick as many Palestinians out as possible. Because remember, I always emphasize this in every talk that I give. There are three fundamental goals of Zionism. One of them is conquest. The other one is the ingathering of Jewish exiles. And thirdly, and most importantly, it is the dispossession of the indigenous Palestinians. Get as much land as possible with as few Palestinians as possible. That was the story of Deir Yassin. That is the story that must be remembered, emphasized, and re-emphasized.
Jazakallah khair, Tariq. Let's see. I don't think we have any more questions. Do you have any more? Did you get any more questions? Anybody? Before we move on to the next slides, inshallah. Okay. Let's move to the next slides, inshallah. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about AMP campaigns, the current campaigns we are doing with AMP, the American Muslims for Palestine, at the national level and throughout the chapters, inshallah. So the first campaign we're going to talk about is the date boycott campaign. So we got Ramadan coming soon, inshallah, and we need to emphasize this. So you need to check the labels. And Tariq is going to talk a little bit more about this campaign, inshallah.
Brothers and sisters, we must boycott these brands. You see them right there. We have a lot more information on our AMP website. But these brands, Hadi Claim, Mahadran, Carmel Agrexo, Agri-Food, these are the brands that we must stay away from. These are the companies that we must stay away from because they are complicit. These companies are complicit with the occupation and the oppression of the Palestinian people. When people always ask, what can we do? We're here trying to make a living here. What can we do? This is something that you all can do. Just don't buy these products. It's that simple. There are many other Palestinian brands, Palestinian companies that you can buy from. Just stay away from these labels and tell your family to stay away from these labels. Tell your friends. Don't just tell your Muslim friends and family to stay away from these, because there are a lot of non-Muslims that eat dates too, during Ramadan and after Ramadan and before Ramadan. So tell everybody to stay away from these labels. We must boycott this Zionist enterprise. We must boycott the oppression of the Palestinian people. Stay away from these products. And we'll have a lot more information on our website and more to come, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair. One quick question about this, because we get this, people ask us this all the time. And most people, they just buy it. They don't care about the label. They tell you, okay, I'm just buying one box. What difference does it make? Can you give, I think Tahir gave us the difference since this campaign started about 2 years ago.
You know, that's the same logic that comes with voting. Well, it's just one vote. If I don't vote, what difference is that going to make? But let's say more people have that same mindset. So if more people have that same mindset and they apply that mindset, it's not just one person now. Now it's 2, now it's 3, now it's 30, it's 300, it's 3,000, and so on and so forth. So it can have a ripple effect. One person can make a difference. So and we all know it's not just one person. There are families that are buying this stuff. So we have to send the message across our communities wholesale.
So I go into the supermarket, right? And you tell me check the labels. I check the labels. There's 2 products. One says West Bank and one says California. But I'm not sure of the company from the West Bank. What do you suggest?
Okay. So if you look at the label and it says made, there are actually labels that say made in Palestine, but those are still labels that you should be wary of. It doesn't mean that it's not made in a settlement. It doesn't mean that it's still not Israeli dates. So yes. So if the products are unknown, then you have to do a little more homework on that one. So those are the few tougher ones. But generally, overall, in 90% of the cases, the labels are going to be there. You know which ones to stay away from. Just stay away from those labels. If you see a label that says made in the West Bank or made in Palestine, call us. Let us know. We'll give you the information on that.
Jazakallah khair. I know you guys been working so hard. There are actually we have a group dedicated for this just particular issue, doing research and looking up the companies to make sure we are not helping the settlements and we're not helping the occupation. Jazakallah khair.
I wanted to add. There's a few suggestions on our AMP website of Palestinian-owned products that you can buy from, so that you can just, if you want to shop quickly, look for those labels and you can feel comfortable with them. So those are going to be on our website. So please check that out.
So that just to bring, I just got the information. We're going to talk about the difference in made in 4 years because of the boycott campaigns. The imports from dates from Israel went down from 23 million pounds to 7 pounds. So it's 23 million pounds to 7 pounds. So it is making a difference. So guys, if you are, when you buy your dates, make sure you check the label. Check the label, guys. And like Tariq said, go to our website. We have it on the screen, ampalestine.org, for more information on that. Okay, let's move on to the next slide, inshallah, to our next topic on next campaign. Let's see. What do we have next now? Okay, remembering the Nakba series. Now, we have, you guys, as most of you know, the Nakba is May 15th, and that's the day we remember the Nakba every year. So we have a series going on from now to May 15th. If you guys notice, our different chapters will be sharing different facts about the Nakba. So just look out for those, like our pages, whichever state you're in, and just follow our pages to get more facts about the Nakba, inshallah. And then we have another important date, which is the April 17th. April 17th is the Palestine Prisoners' Day. So keep the Palestinian prisoners in your dua. That's the Palestinian Prisoners' Day, and it's April 17th. Our next date is the most important dates. Now, since the COVID-19 started, we have been, just like everybody else, every other organization, we are doing everything online, virtual, including our fundraising now. So we are holding our first ever fundraising gala, which is April 18th. We have our guest speakers. We have different known guest speakers. We have Dr. Osama Abu Shayd, and we have our Imam Omar Sulaiman will join us that night. So please mark your calendars. It's going to be April 18th, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, we're going to leave it for Q&A for a couple of minutes. If anybody have any question about anything, about our organization, about the topics we covered.
Actually, I saw a question here. Do you know whether the dates available at Costco are from Israel? The answer to that, from what I saw, is yes. The dates in Costco are the Mehadrin brand, Mehadrin company. So most of the dates that are sold at Costco of that brand, Mehadrin, Mehadrin, there's a lot of them at Costco. So stay away from those. And I know a lot of Palestinians and Arab and Muslims shop at Costco. So stay away from that brand at Costco. I think it's one of their biggest brands.
Okay. Another question: do we have a chapter in Atlanta? I don't think. Do we? I don't believe so. We don't have a chapter in Atlanta right now. We have so far. We have chapters. We have Bay Area in California. We have North Carolina. We have Dallas, Texas. We have Minnesota. We have New Jersey. We have Chicago, of course. Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri. We have, did I miss anybody? Those are the chapters I can remember. You can check our website, and we always, we have the chapters listed on our website. Anybody have any question? We're more than happy to answer you guys.
Oh, I see a question here. How about Starbucks?
Okay.
I get that one all the time. Look, I have a lot of Palestinian friends that always tell me I should not buy from Starbucks. Starbucks is not part of the. It's not a boycottable company, but I understand why some people, because it's. Actually, I don't know why. There's this perception that it's Zionist run. So, but it is not part of the official boycott list. So that answers that. You can still go get your white chocolate mocha if you want.
Oh man. Okay. All right. Let me see. Connect us. If you guys. Oh, another thing. When you go to our website, let me share our website again with you, and you can sign up for our newsletter. You just to our email list, so you'll receive up-to-date information. We always send out emails about these topics. So if you want to sign up to our newsletter, just go to our website and sign up for it. Let's see what we have next. Again, I'm going to remind you again, we cannot emphasize this enough. Please mark your calendars for April 18th, our online fundraising gala. And with that, Tariq, I think we should be able to wrap it up if nobody has any questions. Of those who survived the massacre, how many are still alive today? We answered that question, right?
Yeah. It's approximately 600. It's a little bit over 100 were actually massacred. And don't forget, it wasn't just murder. I mentioned this once, but I'll mention it again. There was murder, mutilation, decapitation, disembowelment, rape, and looting, and burning of bodies as well. I don't know if I mentioned that part. There's also burning of bodies as well.
Okay.
Allah yarhamhu.
I mean, okay. So, anything else, Tariq, you need to say, or? I think we are good to wrap it up, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it. We are sorry about what happened last night, and we really appreciate you joining us and listening to our part of the story. Please stay tuned. Like our pages. We have different pages, different chapter pages. We have our national page. You can like any of the pages, and we share the information on all the pages at the same time. It's me, Mu'ad Salama from St. Louis, Missouri. That was host. I'm seeing for tonight, and we have our special guest speaker, Tariq from Chicago, and we want to thank our Ammo Dawood Asad from the survivor, the star of the night. With that,
actually, but before we go, one thing came to mind. Go to Google Deir Yassin Remembered. It's a website that's dedicated to the remembrance of Deir Yassin. Get some more information on that. There's actually a memorial site in Geneva, New York, I believe, and it was it opened up in 2003, I believe, the same day that the great Edward Said passed away. So there's some more information on the Deir Yassin Remembered website that you can get on that.
Jazakumullah khair. Thank you, Tariq. Thank you, everybody. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.